Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Two Spot Monkeys Live or Two Spot Monkeys Goes Hollywood. This is episode 108, and it's going to be 108 and 109 are great episodes for you to jump in with us. I'm Tom, joined as always by Jim. Jim, how are you?
I am good. Yeah, we went a little different on the backdrop for YouTube, for anybody who's watching over on YouTube. Going to Hollywood because it's WrestleMania week in Hollywood this week, and just thought it'd be fun to throw something up a little bit different. We'll probably be back to our blue background next week, or maybe our chain background from the old days, like we've been doing this that long. 108 episodes though, 109 by the time we're done with this. If you're listening on the podcast feed, this one will be released on Thursday, and stay tuned. There'll be another podcast released on Friday with our WrestleMania picks. This episode is going to be focused on Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and NXT Stand and Deliver. We didn't want to make it a complete marathon with that and Mania all together, so we split it up. We did that last year, and I think it worked out really well. And Tom and I both agreed, so here's what we're doing again. But Tom, really quick before we hit all of these matches, 27 matches between these two episodes for us to pick. And there'll be some stuff added that isn't on here as well, especially when we get to Ring of Honor and probably even Mania. I don't know. It feels like Bobby Lashley's got to do something more than the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, right? I mean, please. Although I do think he might win that Friday night. You got to go to Warrior Wrestling this weekend. I just wanted to ask, Vikingo, live and in person, you're much taller than Vikingo, which is not totally shocking. But how was it to see that guy live?
Amazing. And he, again, if you were able to watch last week on Dynamite where he had his international dream match against Kenny Omega, you know how that blew the roof off the venue there and set the wrestling world on fire even more for him. And probably for those that didn't even know him, definitely on fire for them. To be able to see him just 4 nights later, 3 nights later, actually, pretty amazing. And he didn't do anything. He didn't do the exact same things he would have done or did do with Kenny Omega. He did something that he didn't do in that match because it ended up becoming a 3-way. The main event was Arez versus Vikingo for the Lucha title, the Warrior Lucha Championship. They have a kind of a Money in the Bank gimmick. They have a medallion. Gringo Loco had that medallion. He cashed in about 3 or 4 minutes into the match. It became a 3-way. Vikingo did something I've never seen before. I couldn't even describe it well here, but it was amazing. And then there was just tons of other just amazing flips. And not only just Vikingo being the absolute star that he is, and I know we'll talk about him when we talk about the Ring of Honor picks here shortly. Wherever things go after this weekend, because he's got his toes in other water than just Ring of Honor. The world is his oyster should he want it to be.
Yeah, big time. That guy is he's money. He is money. He is quickly, in only seeing him a couple of times, become one of my favorite guys to watch right now in wrestling. And I'm excited to get to see him in a number of matches. I think he's got 4 matches over 3 days next weekend. I believe, intending to watch all of those shows. So I should get to see all 4 of his matches. So we thought about talking about what else we're looking forward to outside of these 4 shows, on these podcasts. Again, rather than make this go much longer, we'll probably hit that when we recap WrestleMania and the fallout for Mania. Quick programming note, that will be April 14th that we will be live again talking after tonight. So a little over 2 weeks if you're on the YouTube side of things, and it'll be 2 weeks if you're on the podcast side. The 7th just doesn't work, so we'll make the 14th work. And apologies about last week. Hey, life got in the way, but here we are, which probably is good because we originally were going to make our Ring of Honor and NXT picks on Friday of last week. Things have been added since then, so I'm glad in some ways that we were able to do this tonight and get more picks made. So 27 picks means even if we were even, somebody could just get buried after this weekend if there's a lot of differences. So we'll see how that shakes itself out. But I've got us, Tom, at you were 19-5 and I am 18-6.
That is correct.
So you have a 1-match lead so far in our head-to-head from now until June. As far as what we know right now, we've got these 4 shows, or kind of 3 because we're picking Mania all as one, since they haven't, bothered to split things out. We'll still have Backlash. We'll have King and Queen of the Ring. We'll have Double or Nothing, and we'll have Forbidden Door. There also, I would think, often isn't there a June Ring of Honor pay-per-view, Death Before Dishonor, or
Best in the World? Are they still going with that? They didn't do it last year, but
could be something. So
yeah.
So it could be a Ring of Honor pay-per-view in June. I feel like there is usually in June as well. So we'll see. Obviously, that schedule is TBA for Tony Khan's Ring of Honor. But we're going to start with Ring of Honor. And I've gotten a chance, before we pick this first match, the 6-man tag title, I have gotten a chance to see a little bit of the Ring of Honor TV. May have found a website that allows you to do that. So I have checked out some of it. Sorry, Tony. And it's Ring of Honor. It looks like Ring of Honor, feels like Ring of Honor, like the current day Ring of Honor that was before the sale. I'm not going to say it's 2004 Ring of Honor, 2006 Ring of Honor. It's not that. It hasn't been that for a long time. Let's be honest. But man, they're trying to establish guys. They're trying to. I've enjoyed what I've caught, and it sounds like it's doing really well. So I'm excited for Ring of Honor. But Tom, our first pick, the 6-man tag team title match, the Embassy of Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona, the champs, defend against the somewhat, new trio and somewhat feeling ragtag bunch of Blake Christian, AR Fox, and Metalik. Do you think these 3 guys are going to bump all over the ring for the Embassy? Yeah, I think they're going to make the Embassy look like monsters. The interesting thing here for me, and you've probably seen this as well, Tom, is Brian Cage, his contract apparently is up with AEW and Ring of Honor, and he has agreed to work through Supercard of Honor at least. So that really throws a monkey wrench in this whole thing. Because if he's leaving, then you got to get the belts off him. You got to put him on the challengers. If he's staying, I don't know. And I got to admit, the way they booked him lately on the Ring of Honor shows sure doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. He's not going out on his back if that's the case. I'm torn on this one already. We're 1 match into 27, and I'm already sitting here and can't make a decision. I'm going to say he sticks around. I'm going to go Embassy just to start. And I think that might give us a difference right away, and we'll see. But I'm going to go Embassy.
Yeah, so the whole overarching theme, I think, of this conversation regarding Ring of Honor, at least for me, is a lot of like where we thought we were like a year ago, and we were to an extent, of that Supercard of Honor under Tony Khan's ownership was going to be a reset. They've got a month of TV under their belt, save for the episode that will air this week, which is the go-home show for this pay-per-view, and it's exciting about what's on the table, but I think they have an opportunity here to reset things and kind of position the rest of the year. I wasn't aware about Brian Cage's contract, and so I was thinking for sure it would be a slam dunk that the Embassy retains. You've given me reason to want to think against that. Now, if that were to be the case, what I would rather have had them do is give us AR Fox and Top Flight. Not that I want them to be a long-term trio, but even if you were to do a belt switch here, that's the group I would rather have them than this, as you mentioned, the ragtag bumping bunch. So I'm going to actually stick with the Embassy as well. If I'm going to be wrong, I'd rather be wrong with you and not lose a point. But again, if he is going to go out this weekend, it wouldn't. Again, I don't know what they will do with the trios titles or the 6-man. These aren't the trios titles. Sorry, the 6-man titles here next with Blake Christian, Fox, and Metalik as that group. But who knows? Maybe there's a vision that I'm just not seeing yet.
Yeah, I agree. I also think all 3 of those guys, Christian, Metalik, and Fox, have a lot more future, a lot brighter future as singles in Ring of Honor. I suppose they could break 2 of them into a tag. That'd be okay. But I just, from what I've seen, I like them better as singles. Blake Christian's a really good heel in GCW, so I would be very interested in seeing that. Tom, you get the first pick on a match we think is happening. ROH Women's Title match. Athena is defending against Yuka Sakazaki. Athena is defending Thursday night on the Ring of Honor show. It's going to be taped in St. Louis on Wednesday against Emi Sakura. And the winner of that match is going to go on to the pay-per-view and defend the title. It hasn't been said that it's Yuka, but Athena challenged her on Ring of Honor TV a couple of weeks ago for Supercard of Honor. So we're going to go ahead and pick it. Tom, you get the first pick, Athena or Yuka?
Yeah, it's Athena all the way. The way they've been building her with all of the proving ground matches, no one's had a chance to get a leg up on her. Maybe Emi gives her a run on Thursday to make her look weak going into this, and Sakazaki gets some really big hope spots. Athena's going to cheat to take this in the end and retain the title. They need to. I don't know who they're going to build. They need to build someone. Sky Blue is a good person, perhaps, that will eventually challenge Athena and maybe unseat her, but that's not this weekend.
Yeah, I think the Ring of Honor women's division has a lot of potential. There's a lot of really good talent that they've had working on these TV shows already. Lady Frost, Sky Blue, as you mentioned, Miranda Alizé, who I really liked back at the end of the old Ring of Honor, I guess, for lack of a better word. I feel like I'm missing a few. Mercedes Martinez, I believe, is out injured, but she could always rear her head sometime around here. I just think, the Ring of Honor women's division, but it needs some building. It needs some, you got to make some of these ladies seem as important as Athena seems. So I agree. Athena very much is my pick here. Yuka Sakazaki is really good in the ring, but she's one of those people that they haven't told me she's important, so it's hard for me to take her as important in this match. And this Ring of Honor show, this pay-per-view being a month after their TV starts, it's hard for them to make people seem super important yet who weren't already seen as important. The same can be said, honestly, for Christian Fox and Metalik. I mean, I think they've built them up a little bit over the last few weeks, but do they feel like real threats? No. Same here. And Yuka Sakazaki, I don't think has been on the Ring of Honor show at all. So I'm kind of confused even as to why Athena feels like she needed to challenge Yuka Sakazaki. Like, that just didn't feel like a match that, that's the one I've been waiting for.
Well, if they were using the proving ground matches like they have been on like Dark and Dark Elevation, the TV would have been a great spot to actually have someone finally go, okay, they got Athena, they caught her, right? And then that is what we get the match here. They didn't go that route. Why? Who knows?
Agreed. So now the pure title match, and my goodness, Wheeler Yuta was confirmed today. He is defending, as we suspected, against Katsuyori Shibata. Shibata is, I believe, based out of LA now, working in the dojo there. I think that's right. So no huge surprise that he would work a show this weekend. No huge surprise that it's AEW, given their relationship with New Japan. Yeah, sign me up. This is gonna rule. Wheeler, I've really liked Wheeler in this heel turn. I think he's showing more fire. I think he's showing a mean side, which in the pure division I think is always fun. Of course, he's willing to cheat and take that cheap shot and get the one punch in and all those kinds of things. Shibata is just a striking machine. So I think this is going to be really fun. It is my pick first. Okay. As I was just rattling along, I'm like, I really hope it's my pick, or I'm just talking over Tom's. I do not think there is any chance Shibata wins this title at this point, because I don't see this Shibata moving forward. Now, something could happen where we see a rematch at Forbidden Door or something like that. That might be fun. But Wheeler Yuta is my pick here, but I think this is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, so this is where it gets really weird because, I think, as I said, with the whole reset with the Ring of Honor, but I also think when you look at Blackpool Combat Club guys and what's going on in AEW, you have to consider that, in my opinion, in how this card plays out. And that makes me think that Wheeler Yuta should drop the title here. But I also agree with you. I don't know that it's Shibata that it happens to, because I don't know what type of rigor or in-ring capacity Shibata can have in an ongoing way. And I don't think this is like the Minoru Suzuki, defeats Rhett Titus and then loses to Samoa Joe type scenario by any stretch of the imagination. So this is
That
going
was
to
simply
be
to get the belt off Titus at that point because he wasn't under contract.
precisely. I'm going to go Yuta as well, but I would not be surprised, even though I don't see the future because of the Blackpool Combat Club story. And I think that they want to distance those guys from Ring of Honor, give them fully to AEW. He can't be pure champion unless he can live in two worlds. But maybe for one more weekend he does.
Yeah, and I think Wheeler could be kind of more ROH focused, but still involved in the Blackpool Combat Club stuff over in AEW, and obviously they're being positioned in a very big spot, against the Elite moving forward. I'm looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to the fact that it looks like Don Callis might be involved with Blackpool Combat Club. If I was watching things right on Wednesday, I don't know. Like, I think Callis set up the Young Bucks, so I don't know. Don Callis annoys me. I know he's supposed to, but he annoys me. Did you see it that way too, Tom? Like they're hinting at something there?
Yeah, so I didn't see him as being the guy behind the Blackpool Combat Club. That's a great thought. I don't want to lean into that more today. I know when we connect again after all these shows and the dust settles, there'll be a whole lot more with the Mania Fallout and more AW, which I'm sure that story will have more legs and more legs or more teeth, which is the right way to say it. Probably both. And we can talk more then, because I have an idea of what I thought was heading, and I kind of alluded to a few episodes back with potentially blood and guts, both. Yeah. And where that story goes, and then it maybe gets more convoluted. So we'll put a pin right in that for now.
I think we could be headed towards a women's blood and guts match too, but that's again, we can get into that in a future moment. Two spot monkeys swirling off into something that they weren't talking about. Who would have thought it? Tom, you get the first pick on, I'll be honest, maybe a match I'm very, very excited to see. Not maybe, it is. I said before on the show I wanted to see this match. Tony Khan beating GCW to the punch when they'd already announced this one. But also maybe the easiest match to pick on this weekend. Vikingo defends against Commander.
Yeah, it is the easiest match to pick without a doubt. And it is for the AAA Mega Championship. So that is what differentiates this match from the match that was already announced for GCW. Sure. And again, who knows if that match even happens in GCW, with all due respect to Brett Lauderdale and all that GCW has going for it. As I mentioned in my first remarks about Vikingo, this man might be not long in the world for AAA shortly after. I don't know what his contract status is with AAA, but money talks, right? And so I expected fully shortly after last Wednesday to hear that he was signed to AEW or to something of that effect. Maybe he doesn't want to.
Go ahead.
No, I don't have much more to say other than Vikingo's my pick, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Like, he's clearly, for me, a top 5 must-see act right now in all of pro wrestling.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, he's there for me as well. He's clearly under contract with AAA because they controlled for a while, like, his matches couldn't stream. Now they can stream, apparently only though if it's a paid stream, because the Warrior Wrestling stream on YouTube streamed for free on YouTube instead of a pay-per-view on ProWrestling.tv, which is what they had been doing. But the Kingo match was commentary only, so it was like watching it on the radio, basically, if that's a thing. I don't know. Can you say watching on the radio? They had a picture up of them, and then you heard the commentary. I watched about 8 seconds of it and was like, yep, that's not for me. And I knew that they were doing that, so I went back. I flipped it on long enough. Was it Friday night, Saturday night, whatever night that was? Yeah. Saturday night. I flipped it on long enough to find you and Glenn in the front row. And Katie was like, so that's like happening now? Like, Tom's there? And I said, yeah. And she goes, oh, that's kind of cool. I couldn't tell you what match was in the ring at that point. But if I looked at a list, I'm sure I could remember it. But anyways, that's unimportant. And then I fast forwarded the next morning. I flipped it on and fast forwarded to the main event and saw what they had done. So I know AAA has a lot of control. If he's under any sort of long-term deal with them, then get that figure made by Boss Fight. Let's go. I will buy it. Vikingo's winning this match, and it's going to be freaking crazy. Can't wait to watch this on Friday night. Tom, I forgot to ask at the start of this before we move into the next match. Are you planning on watching Supercard of Honor Friday night or at any point in the future? Or is that still to be determined?
Yeah, still to be determined. Spring break in my house for everyone except for me begins on Friday. So the craziness of life as we know it takes a new turn. And I don't even know what and when and how I'm going to watch wrestling this weekend between Friday and Sunday. I just know I'm going to watch something sometime somewhere. So
all right,
I'll
stop asking you that every show here on this breakdown. You go, Tom, are you watching Stand and Deliver? Tom, are you watching WrestleMania?
Yeah, I would say Stand and Deliver probably has the best chance of being watched live. Maybe Saturday afternoon. Right now we have nothing going on that I'm aware of. No outside commitments. Saturday Night Mania, which I know we're going to talk about next episode. I'm still a mark for the Final Four, so I'm going to, probably, even though it's a crazy year in the Final Four,
crazy.
I think I'll still probably have eyes on that.
Did Sunday you pick any of the Final Four, Tom?
If Texas would have won, I would have had one of the four. Here's the ironic part. And
that's a fun way to say no, by the way.
Yeah. Tell me no without telling me using the word no. So I think I've mentioned it here before. And again, like I said, Two Spot Monkey scrolling off one more time. Entering Saturday, I had a 2-point lead in the family bracket challenge. I had Gonzaga winning and going to the Final Four. I had Texas winning and going to the Final Four. I was confident one of those two games were going to go my way and then seal me the victory. Well, that didn't happen. So now, for the first time in those last 5 years we've done this, we have a tie at two people with the exact same points earned with nobody left to earn points. So it's my wife and I, which is awesome. And I love that. I love that because I love that. I think it motivates her to want to do it better and more in the future. The fact that she performed so well, also because I also gave her a turd in her work bracket. Sorry, turd in her work bracket, but it was. And now she owes somebody a lunch. So we have to figure out how we're going to determine the true champion, or if we're going to have two winners. So
you can do final points in the championship game, even though you have nothing.
Well, so we've already picked tiebreakers for the final we thought we were going to have. And she had UCLA, Arizona. I had Gonzaga, Marquette. So we may still stick to that, even though it's not the same matchup. I would actually rather, and she's watched quite a bit of basketball, so I'd rather say, all right, let's wait till the finals are set on Saturday evening, and then do a tiebreaker again. That's me knowing sports probably a little bit different. She might just say, let it roll. So.
Take the win, or the split win, the split national champion. I did not have any of these Final Four either. So I had Kansas winning, so I've been out of it for some time. We'll go back to Supercard of Honor here.
And back to your regularly scheduled Two Spot Monkeys. Right. Supercard of Honor and Stand and Deliver preview.
The Ring of Honor World TV title match, Samoa Joe defends against Mark Briscoe. What to do. So here's my thing. I think Joe is going to be mostly Ring of Honor. And I think that's smart moving forward. I think he'd get lost in the shuffle in AEW. I think he can be a very big dog and a very big deal in Ring of Honor. Mark is going to be mostly Ring of Honor. I think you'll see him on AEW from time to time. I kind of want Mark to win this title because it's been his destiny, as he keeps saying. And I think Joe could move on and be a really good world title challenger down the road as we move forward with that title. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. My one fear is, if Mark wins, does this feel like your brother passed away, so we're going to hand you a title? I know it's not that. I hope it's not that, certainly. But does it feel that way? kind of the would Rey Mysterio have ever won the world title had Eddie Guerrero not passed away? I hate to think of things that way because Rey Mysterio deserved a world title run. Mark Briscoe deserves a TV title run. And I do think that they've got to continue to establish Mark as a singles because that's what Mark's going to be. Because if they would have tried to put Mark Briscoe with anybody else in a tag team, especially right now, it'd have been like a fart in church. Like, that's not going to work. The Briscoes were such an iconic tag team, and sadly that, has ended with Jay's passing in January. And I'm glad they didn't do that. I was a little worried they were going to have Mark pick a new partner and enter the Reach for the Sky ladder match with, I don't know, Matt Sydal as his partner or something. At least they put Sydal back with Daniels. But I mean, somebody that just who makes sense in the Briscoe clan outside of a Briscoe? Nobody. So I hope it feels like his destiny. I'm going Mark Briscoe because I just think it's the booking decision that Tony Khan will make, and I think it's the right one. But I hope they play it up mostly as his destiny because he did chase this title back when Jay was world champion. Mark was going for the TV title and never won it, and I like that they're kind of mentioning that without even really mentioning Jay being the world champion at the time. That they're talking about this has always been Mark Briscoe's destiny. So I'm going to go Mark Briscoe over Joe.
Yeah, I am as well. I like a lot of what you said, and I agree with a lot of what you said. I think they're smart enough to not treat it like it's like a gift, for lack of a better term, or to Mark Briscoe. I am going to be interested to see or hear how this match plays out. Like, does Samoa Joe, show compassion at all for Mark Briscoe in any way, right? Like, is this a great chance for Samoa Joe to have, come in as a bully, be a bully? Mark Briscoe shows heart, overcomes Joe. Joe shows respect, and Joe turns babyface and becomes a great babyface world title challenger. We'll have to see how that plays out. I don't know that it has to happen like that. He could remain the monster heel as well. So, but yeah, Mark Briscoe, and I think the opportunity for Mark Briscoe to really show his chops as a singles wrestler is what has to happen, right? Like, they've signed him, he's under contract. Go with it. Make it happen.
Yep, I agree. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. And Briscoe versus Samoa Joe versus a Briscoe. What is more Ring of Honor than that? So loving that it's there. You get to pick first, which, man, I'm glad that worked out that way. I didn't even realize it until right before this. The ROH World Tag Team title, Reach for the Sky ladder match, which I love the name, Reach for the Sky. A, it makes a lot of sense in a ladder match, and B, obviously the homage to Jay. Love it. I love that that's what they're calling it. I think this should be a Supercard of Honor staple moving forward. Or they should do some sort of a tag tournament. I like the idea of like the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament that AEW is doing or did last year, and it sounds like it's coming back this summer in Canada. Some form of a yearly honoring of Jay Briscoe, I like a lot. So the Lucha Brothers, Aussie Open, Roosh and Drolistico of LFI, Top Flight, and The Kingdom are the 5 teams we were talking about last time we talked about whether it would be 4 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams, it's 5, it's 10 guys. Boy, I literally think there's 1 or 2 teams that I would say, yeah, probably not. And that means there's 3 to 4 that I would say, well, they could win this. So you get the first pick.
Yeah, and I've been giving this some thought before the match kind of fleshed out with the competitors in the last couple days to go. I have no idea if I'll be right because, yeah, you could go, I think, like you said, a couple of different directions here. I think when you look at Ring of Honor and how they've positioned the talent here, 4 of these 5 teams have really been focused at the TV tapings, and 1 hasn't. But that's why that one who hasn't is going to be the team that wins. I'm going Lucha Brothers. I think they're going to be the new staple of the Ring of Honor tag division because I don't think there's much for them to do in AEW anymore. I think them both losing in respective weeks to Powerhouse Hobbs to put over his TNT title reign was kind of part and parcel to get them to this point and reset them as a tag team. And also, it's a little bit of a nod to the Briscoes and the brother tag team continuation. This should have been Jay and Mark defending, and sadly that it's not. What a great team to honor their legacy as brothers, and brothers of their own, being the Lucha Brothers, to win the Ring of Honor tag titles.
Okay, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. That's good. I like it. So, and the interesting part is you mentioned the brothers thing. There are literally 3 teams of brothers in this match. Rush and Derlisco are brothers. Top Flight obviously are brothers, and the Lucha Brothers are obviously brothers.
More than just a name.
More than just a name. That's right. Real life and storyline, as Fully Posable would say. So they're the one that I was like, yeah, they're probably not winning this because they're in AEW. But man, you just laid out a whole thing that makes a lot of sense. So cool. I guess this is a difference, but now you got me second guessing. So when Ring of Honor restarted, and including a final battle, I would have told you Top Flight wins this match. And I still won't be shocked if they do. I think they've got a really good chance. But lately there's been this push online that over the next week or so, Aussie Open has a chance at winning 3 tag titles. They have in this match, at the Impact Multiverse New Japan show. They're in the Impact tag title match, which I don't think they'll win there, frankly. And then they're challenging Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi at Sakura Genesis, I believe, for the IWGP. So over the next few weeks, maybe. I'm not sure. I think they could be really good Ring of Honor tag team champions, and a good measuring stick. I really like Aussie Open. I've become a bigger fan of them lately. I hope they get signed to AEW so that I can see them more regularly, since I don't watch a lot of New Japan. So I'm going to go Aussie Open and give us our first difference here. I won't be shocked if we're both wrong, frankly, and it's Top Flight or even the Kingdom. I don't think Rush and Derlistico win this, although I wouldn't be mad if they did. I think they're a really good team. I've been a big fan of Rush since he came into Ring of Honor. Derlistico, I don't think has been presented as dangerous as he could be. So, yeah, I'm going to go Aussie Open, but man, the Lucha Brothers makes a lot of sense the way you laid that out too. And I hadn't even thought about the fact that they put over Powerhouse Hobbs the last couple of weeks. So them spending some time in Ring of Honor and helping. I mean, goodness gracious, look at the 5 teams in that match, Tom. That's a tag team division right there. Like, forget Christopher Daniels, Matt Sydal are even there, and a few other teams that I'm now drawing blanks on are also there. Ring of Honor, the tag team division has often been super important in Ring of Honor, and they're building themselves a nice little division here in Ring of Honor again. So that's pretty exciting to see. We move on to the main event, the ROH World Title match, 15 years in the making. Claudio Castagnoli defends against Eddie Kingston. They are going to beat the tar out of each other, and I'm going to love every minute of it Friday night. I'm excited for this match. I assumed the way things are being set up before they started recording Ring of Honor TV that this was going to be Claudio Rush. That kind of seemed on AEW TV to be where things might have been heading. I'm really glad it didn't go that way. Not that that wouldn't have been a really fun match, and I'd like to see that at some point. But when we're talking Ring of Honor World Title, Supercard of Honor, this feels like a Supercard of Honor main event to me because of their past, because of their history, and because Eddie Kingston makes everything he's involved in feel real. Eddie's my pick. He's got to win the Ring of Honor title here. He has to overcome Claudio. Eddie versus Joe, I think, would be super fun to watch. And I do think that Claudio, even more than Wheeler Yuta, is going to transition over more to AEW, especially at least for the time being. He can always, the beauty of Tony Khan owning both of these companies, they can bounce people back and forth as they need to. And I think they will be doing that. But I think you need to have somebody focused on Ring of Honor as your world champion. I wouldn't be totally shocked to see Bryan Danielson walk out at the end of this match and stare down Eddie Kingston, because Bryan Danielson mentioned going home, and it feels like Ring of Honor could be a place. But then you also have the Bryan Danielson was a part of Blackpool Combat Club, that whole thing, which again, I don't want to squirrel into AEW too much, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Danielson here at Supercard of Honor, which I think would be really, really cool. But Eddie Kingston is my pick to be the new Ring of Honor World Champ.
Yeah, we have the same pick here. I think this is Eddie Kingston's destiny. Interesting to think, that it's taken the time to get to this match and that it happened here and not at AEW. I go back to both of these guys being on top of the Blood and Guts cage in Detroit and thinking they're going to definitely go to war in AEW, and then they never did. And again, for a lot of reasons and a lot of different paths, I'm still happy that they ended up at this path. If there was ever one match that made me want to buy a show, it's this one, for what I know will be something incredible. And I'm really excited, having been a lifelong Eddie Kingston fan, but really in the last 3 years, since he's landed in AEW, becoming way more invested in him as a character and as a persona. I'm just really excited about what's going to happen here, and then what Ring of Honor might look like with him as champion going forward.
Absolutely, and I think I've shared with you before, and have shared on this show. I wasn't the biggest Eddie Kingston fan, and then in AEW, I've become a really big Eddie Kingston fan. Super excited for him to be in Ring of Honor and appear to be a focal point. Because I do think occasionally he was getting, he'd be featured in AEW and then he'd get lost in the shuffle. Then he'd be featured, then he'd get lost. I hope that his bout with COVID, he did have COVID a couple of weeks back and got pulled from Scrappermania. He was the replacement for Jon Moxley, who got pulled so that he could be at the AEW House Rules show. And then the replacement got COVID. Sucks. Just the world we live in right now. So I hope he's, healed up, ready to go. I haven't seen all of the Ring of Honor show, any of them yet. I've seen parts of them, but not all of them. I am trying to locate and watch. I know it's on Twitter, and I need to just take 5 minutes to watch it. I really do want to see the sit down that they had from Thursday night. I've read nothing but glowing reviews.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz I'm seeing about, hey, take your time to watch that. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth going out of your way to see against East. Sounds like you already are planning on it, but just for those listeners who may have not seen that or thought about that yet, there's one more plug to do it.
And have you seen it, Tom?
I've not. No, but it's on my to watch list.
It's on my to do list, as Shrek says. So there we have it. 7 matches, I believe, something like that. And 7 matches. Ring of Honor, and we have one difference, which is the Reach for the Sky ladder match. You have the Lucha Bros, and I have Aussie Open. We are going to move directly on this same episode over to NXT and talk Stand and Deliver, which is airing at noon my time, 1 o'clock Eastern on Saturday of WrestleMania weekend. That will be one I will watch live for sure as well. Supercard of Honor, I'm intending to watch Friday night. I have Friday off from work, and then I have Saturday and Sunday off. My wife is working Saturday and Sunday, so watch a lot during the days. Going to watch both WrestleMania parts on Sunday, though, so that I can spend a little time with her on Saturday night. But Saturday during the day, this is getting watched for sure.
It just dawned on me. That's 10 a.m. California time.
Yeah.
This event is beginning at 10 o'clock in the morning, live in California on Saturday.
Yep. It's brunch with NXT on Saturday morning. Yes, 10 a.m. As well. So Tom, I made the first pick last match. So you get to make the first pick. This match is what I'm trying to say in English words. And you get the first match, the control of Chase U. If ever there was a thing that you and I could get ourselves behind, it's who controls Chase U. Andre Chase, Duke Hudson, Tyler Bate, and Thea Hale take on the Schism not the schism of Joe Gacy, Rip Fowler, Jagger Reed, and Ava.
Yeah, and it already seems like the seeds are indirectly planted for people on Chase U to be with Schism.
Seeds, one tree, four branches.
Did you see? Yeah, no, unintentional pun there. Yeah, Schism is gonna win here. Chase U, I think, is really good, and it's gotten over. Whenever you see NXT and you see how the crowd gets behind it, I do think some of that's a little bit of a plant. Aside from that, everybody's talented, and this is like Sesame Street. Which one of these things is not like the other? And I go, why the heck is Tyler Bate being wasted here?
Again, we need to get Tyler Bate on this card. Let's not put him in the North American title match or anything else that has some meaning. This has meaning. What?
I mean, I guess Tyler Bate is like the person who helped Thea Hale get through her issues after being kidnapped. I haven't watched NXT super consistently, but I think that's what happened.
I believe you are correct, yes.
Anyway, Schism.
It's just Schism.
Yeah, anyway, Schism.
Yeah. Between Duke Hudson and his, seemingly problems with Chase U and the way that they've handled things, Thea Hale was kidnapped. That's a sentence I just really said in real life. And apparently has some PTSD, I guess.
Maybe we should have said abducted.
Abducted. There you go. Here's where it boils down to for me. Who is the father of Ava?
The Stone.
Yes, The Rock. Yeah, I know. We're probably not supposed to say his name because everybody's mad at him that he's not wrestling Roman. Ava is Rock's daughter. Ava's not losing her debut match on WrestleMania weekend. Ain't happening. In fact, I'll go as far to say I think that's the finish. Ava pins Thea Hale to get the win in her first match at Mania weekend. Not that we're picking that, not that that matters, but Schism. I don't know. Beetlejuice, if I say it 3 times, Joe Gacy show up. Tom, nope. I get the first pick. That's how we do this, back and forth. NXT Women's Tag Team Title match. Kiana James, Fallon Henley defend against Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. I could not care less about Kiana James, Fallon Henley, and the whole love thing with Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. And, Kiana's maybe cheating on him, and then they're happy, and she had to make it stop. Make it stop. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, as soon as they got put together, and I kind of had a sneaky hunch a week or 3 before that they were headed this direction. It seemed that way. I was like, yeah, they're gonna be tag champs. That team makes a lot of sense. So Isla Dawn and Fallon Henley win the titles here, and Kiana and Fallon finally, I don't know, something happens. Tom, before you make your pick, Annette has a question for us. There is something, and I've noticed it. I believe the TV is behind you. Is that correct?
It's actually in front of me. I've got Raw here because Raw started about 10 minutes or so ago, and there's a lot of reflection against the. Yeah,
there's it keeps changing like a strobe light, like you're in a club. So she was wondering what's glowing behind you. So there's what it is. It's Tom's at the disco.
Club 2 Spot Monkeys.
Disco Inferno guest appearance on 2 Spot Monkeys. No, we'll never do that. But back to what we were talking about. Sorry, and that was a really good question. I have been wondering the same thing. Annette, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire win the titles, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and you put your Fallon in your mouth a minute ago. Not your foot, your Fallon. You said Fallon Henley, and I think Isla Dawn will win the titles.
Oh,
which I know what you mean. I know you mean Dawn and Fire.
Dawn and Fire, yes.
Yeah, but you said go back and rewind the tape. We don't edit this show. We go live to tape.
Nope. We sure don't.
We live our best lives all the time. Yeah, Dawn and Fire are the pick here for me as well. I haven't hated the story with Kiana James and Fallon Henley.
I think my problem is how long it's drug out. I feel like this was a story that didn't need to be this drug out.
Again, like the inverse is stories happen too fast and then we get mad that there's not a payoff.
Yeah.
Here, this has been long term and then the payoff is happening. It's just like it's not a happy payoff.
I guess I'm slightly interested or curious to see what they book as far as like okay, if Kiana, I don't think it's over, and Kiana has just been faithful to him the whole time. There's been nothing going on. I think that's far from where they go with this. But who is it? Like, are they going to introduce a new character? Are they going to? Is it going to be Josh Briggs? That wouldn't make a lot of sense, but they find a way. Is it going to be Hornswoggle? Like, I don't know. Like, what are we doing here? Well, Tom, man, I didn't really look at this and lay it out the way that I intended to, but I love that I keep giving you the first pick on some of these matches. NXT North American title match. You get to pick first. Wes Lee, Dragon Lee, Ilya Dragunov, JD McDonough, and spoiler alert, there are last chance matches that will air on Tuesday, since we're actually recording this on Monday, but it will release a podcast after Tuesday. We went ahead and put those spoilers in there. So apologies on YouTube if we're spoiling anything. Quick, turn your eyes away. Don't listen to us anymore for a little bit, because there's going to be a spoiler in the next match too. NXT North American title match, Axiom, the last competitor. I hope I gave you enough warning if you didn't want to be spoiled on that. Tom, who's winning the North American title in a crazy-looking five-way?
Yeah, this is bananas, and there isn't a ladder involved.
Yeah,
there might be a ladder involved when it's all said and done. Yeah, wow, this is going to be just nuts. So I feel like Dragunov and McDonough stay programmed after this. I think they have a long-term issue. I don't think they need the title to win. Axiom has been the guy behind the scenes, chasing Wes, but I think that's been maybe he does get a shot here. That's not going to bear out either. So it comes down to Wesley and Dragon Lee, the battle of the Lees for me. You astutely picked up Dragon Lee the minute that our fantasy wrestling league started back in January with this day in mind, Jim. So you will either get your wish now or you'll get your wish later, because I do think Dragon Lee
for 3 months. I sure hope I do.
I do think Dragon Lee gets the title at some point. I'm not sure if that's here. I think a lot of that depends on a couple other matches here. I think the Johnny Gargano, Grayson Waller match, and I think that the main event, the title match for the NXT title, really kind of set the course of NXT for the next 2 or 3 or 4 months. All of that being said, I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to say Dragon Lee gets the spotlight here. NXT gets back to kind of their old ways of the super important, star that comes in with a high degree of signing does get a push off the bat. Wesley's done a fine job here. It's actually surprising how long he's been champion. I think it goes back to October of last year, and a good title reign. Not a great title reign, and that's unfortunate because I saw Zach Wentz, his former partner Nash Carter, live on Saturday at Warrior. He did fine in the match.
That's what's happening when I turned it on. Yep,
fine. He looked really good in the match with Brian Cage. It's just really unfortunate that MSK had to go their separate ways, because I would imagine they'd still be a staple of the NXT tag division if they were around. Dragon Lee's my pick.
MSK, no, wait, that's MDK. Never mind. Yeah. I agree with everything you said. I agree. Dragunov and McDonough, that's kind of its own thing. Well, I wouldn't have minded seeing them get a one-on-one match here on this card. There's about 7 matches on this card as well, which is more than NXT normally has at a takeover type event, premium live event, I guess, for lack of another word to call them. So I kind of understand why you put them in here, because they deserve a spot after the feud they've had, but maybe there just wasn't room. You got to get control of JCU in there. That couldn't happen on NXT on the TV show. But I think they'll be really, really fun. I like that Axiom's getting a chance on Stand and Deliver to kind of up his game and show a lot more people what he can do. I like Axiom a lot. I agree with you. Wesley has had a good, not great title reign. And I think it's because they haven't really let him sink his teeth into any sort of feuds. They've been short-lived if they have with Dijak or whatever. And Dijak, very much missing from this card. I'm a little bit bummed for Dijak that he's not on this card somewhere. I hope he comes out and just kicks somebody in the face just for the fun of it, because he deserves to be on this card. Yeah, I picked up Dragon Lee thinking he might come in and win the North American title right away. I sure hope he comes in and wins the North American title right away, because he's got me exactly 0 points right now, coming up to the end of March. Unfortunately, some visa issues. It sounds like they intended to start him sooner, but here he is, and I think you bring him in and push him right away, because he is a stud and a star, with no question. So I'm going to go Dragon Lee as well on this one. All right, great. The NXT Women's Title Ladder match. Zoe Stark versus Gigi Dolan versus Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria. And again, spoiler alert, Indy Hartwell is the last addition to this match. This one's tough because, honestly, I think this is going to be a 6-way. I think Roxanne Perez is going to show up. Everything I've heard and read from people I trust, i.e. Sean Ross Sapp, is that she's fine and has been. Dave Meltzer said there was something else going on, but she'd been cleared and was going to be worked back into the storylines as soon as perhaps last Tuesday. That didn't happen. Honestly, I don't know why you would have brought her back last Tuesday. Go ahead and leave it till Stand and Deliver at this point. The fainting thing was very much the Shawn Michaels story. I just think there's a really good chance Roxanne enters, and I think if Roxanne enters, Roxanne probably wins. And yet I don't know what to do about that here. Like, do I just pick somebody who's not even listed on the sheet? So I think we agreed before we went on that we can just do whatever we want with this match. We can pick whoever we want. We're going to count it.
We agree that about the Athena match, but I think that's fair here too.
So do we? Here's my question before I make my pick, and we're hashing this out live on air. If Roxanne enters this match, are we throwing it out? In which case, then we don't worry about Roxanne. Or are we saying this could happen even with Roxanne, and we're picking it either way? So normally with a change, we throw it out. I think this is a weird situation because we fully expect that there could be a change.
Well, so here's where I think that we make the decision, and the decision actually is made for us because they have not yet, and I don't believe on the go home NXT tomorrow night that they strip Roxanne Perez, unless that was not for the live crowd and it happens on a pre-recorded video tomorrow night to kind of show that this is for the vacant NXT title, which we don't know today. That would be the only thing that changes this. So to me, since it's for the NXT title, Roxanne is the NXT champion. Even though she's not on the sheet, she deserves consideration. So I think we roll with that in mind.
Okay. So to me, this is a 2-woman pick then. One of 2 ways for me. One, I want to say I'm really glad Lyra is on here. I like her, and I don't feel like she's gotten too much focus put on her. So kind of like Axiom, glad to see her get a shot on this stage. And I hope she has a really, really good showing because I've liked what I've seen of her. Gigi, I love that she's here. Zoe, she seems like she could go to the main roster before too long, so I just don't think it's going to be Zoe. Indy Hartwell, is good. They see something in Tiffany Stratton. I'm getting there. I'm not there yet with Tiffany in ring. Character-wise, I think she's a decent character, but I'm not there in ring. So if Roxanne is not in this match, and even if she is, I think there's at least a chance that Tiffany Stratton wins. And if anybody except Roxanne wins, that would be my pick, but I'm going Roxanne. I think she overcomes the odds and climbs the ladder and keeps her title, and everybody thought she was going to be stripped and blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of a really awkward way to get there, but I think Roxanne wins.
Yeah, Roxanne Perez is my pick too. The weird thing for this and with this for me is she already has a tremendous resume. She already is incredibly sympathetic, even as champion. So why would you take the title from her in an effort to recreate a path for her? I mean, I guess you can do that without causing her to lose, but I think if you have her fight and lose, it does create more of a desire to watch her chase the title back as opposed to this here. I don't know, but I guess if they're really going to sell the injury thing and go, wow, maybe her career was in jeopardy and she's fought back and overcome. I don't know, and I don't think that's going to happen. So And then I look at the people in this match, and I'm like, who here could be that person who is a great heel for her to chase if that's the way they went? Zoe Stark comes to mind first and foremost, more so than Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton's in a different league, like a heel and a jerk, but like not from like the in-ring stuff. I think you nailed it when you said what you said. I also do think too Zoe Stark is main roster bound, maybe as early as next week. So that's why
I think Roxanne could be too, and that would be the thing that would throw a monkey wrench in this. But
yeah.
So Tom, you get the first pick then on the NXT Tag Team Title match, a three-way dance between Gallus, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang, the reigning and defending NXT Tag Team Champions, the Creed Brothers, former Tag Team Champions, and Tony D'Angelo and Channing Lorenzo. Now, when I put this banner together, I typed Tony D'Angelo and Channing Tatum, which would be a way different thing. And then I looked at it and went, wait, that ain't right. Hang on. And I had to actually look up Lorenzo's last name because I couldn't come up with it. So now that I know it's not Channing Tatum, who do you think's winning the tag title match?
The Magic Mike Tag Team Classic.
right.
You know what's
I think, right?
You know what's disappointing? We didn't get a Dusty Rhodes tournament to lead us to the title challengers here. I think they could have done that, and I think they should have done that. They've done that in past Mania seasons in NXT. Sure. They really should be leaning into Dusty, especially because they've got Cody on the main roster.
I wonder if that's why they didn't, though, because they're focusing on Dusty so much on the main roster. I wonder.
Perhaps. Can you help me understand why the D'Angelo family, whatever, is in this match?
Nope.
Okay, good. So we're on the same page.
Basically, Tony D'Angelo has been a focused on character, and they had to find a way to shoehorn him into this card, I think. That's my belief.
Yeah, so like to me, like that's their inclusion gives Gallus a chance to win without hurting the Creed brothers. And that's maybe probably the way they go if they want to keep the belts on Gallus. I don't want to see that. I guess I feel like they're stuck with Gallus, and nothing against Gallus, but like they don't do anything for me. So probably against my better judgment, I'm going to say the Creed brothers win.
So this is a match that I look at and I go, it's going to be really good. Like the Creeds are really good. Gallus is fine. I don't connect well with that team for whatever reason, but they're not bad in the ring. They beat tar out of people. D'Angelo has grown on me as a character. I enjoy him and his stuff. Lorenzo is coming along. He's doing fine. I think the fact that Pretty Deadly are hosting Stand and Deliver could play into this match because Pretty Deadly and Gallus still have an unresolved situation. I wonder, though, could they still have a situation that doesn't involve the NXT Tag Team titles and it's just personal now? And I kind of think that might be what happens. They cost Gallus the titles, and now those two just have a personal situation, and the Creeds go on to do something else. Creeds and Indus Sher, maybe. Which with the way they've pushed Indus Sher, there's another team that probably should have. I actually think Indus Sher instead of D'Angelo and Lorenzo would have made a lot of sense here because they've beaten the Creeds. And they could have had a really good argument to say, hey, wait a minute, we beat the Creeds. We won in that match. Logic. So the Creeds are going to be my pick as well. And yeah, I just think they are. Unsanctioned match. I think this one's going to be interesting. Gargano.
I just want to say I'm really glad you picked the Creeds. I thought you were going to go Gallus. So
okay. I had already put down my winners for the last three matches, and I thought about the switch because I wouldn't be shocked if it's Gallus. I don't think D'Angelo and Lorenzo have a shot in Haiti of winning that match. Now watch them walk out with the tag titles. Watch them win, and Axiom wins, and Leo Valkyra wins, and we don't know what we're doing anymore on this show. Unsanctioned match, though, Gargano versus Waller. This makes so much sense because Gargano, we weren't getting Grayson Waller versus Shawn Michaels. Because if Shawn Michaels ever works another match in his life, and I kind of hope he doesn't because the last one was so bad, unless he wants to, like, erase the stink of that. But, man, if you go out there with another stinker, all you're doing is killing your legacy even more. But it's not happening at NXT Stand and Deliver if Shawn Michaels comes back. I'm sorry. It's happening on the main roster. So we weren't ever going to get that. I thought it was going to be Dragon Lee maybe in this spot, But as soon as Gargano came back, I was like, well, that makes a ton more sense because of how they wrote Gargano off when he left WWE. So it makes total sense. Gargano's not doing anything at Mania. He's in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and let's be honest, he ain't winning that either. So I like this. There's a good use of Gargano. He's an NXT legend. This is going to be really, really fun. He knows a thing or two about unsanctioned matches. I like that little nod, wink and nod. So I'm torn on this match, to be perfectly honest. And I think the interesting thing is going to be, does this close Stand and Deliver, or does the NXT title close Stand and Deliver? I feel like the NXT title should, but it's hard to have an unsanctioned match and then go back to sanctioned matches. Like, that's weird too. Grayson Waller should win this match because Grayson Waller is going to be in NXT on Tuesday, and Johnny Gargano is not. However, I don't think that's what happens here. I think it's WrestleMania weekend. Quite often, the baby faces come out on top over WrestleMania weekend, and Gargano's looking for his redemption against Waller. And I don't think this story makes a lot of sense if Waller wins, to be perfectly honest. Gargano's coming back for his redemption. He's standing up for HBK. I do think there's a very real possibility that Grayson Waller gets a Sweet Chin Music during this match at some point. Because he pushes Michaels too far. Maybe they're back in Gorilla or something, and Michaels just lays him out with a Sweet Chin Music. That'd be fun. Get a good pop. But I think Gargano wins this match.
Yeah, Gargano wins for sure. The NXT Superman without a cape. Here's why I think it's okay that Grayson Waller loses, because it's unsanctioned. So he can keep his heat as a heel because it doesn't count against him in the record books. I also think Grayson Waller, even though I think he should stay in NXT for a while longer, could easily transition to the main roster as well. Again, we're talking about all these guys and gals who could get bumped up. The crazy part about that is where does all this other shifting go? Because there's only so many spots on the main roster. And I think we're going to talk about a match as we transition next, where someone is definitely going to the main roster without question. So Gargano is my pick as well. This should be a lot of fun.
Well, and Tom, you get the pick for the last match on this episode, and we'll talk after we finish up our picks here for those who are watching on YouTube, what will happen next here as we transition to the other episode. But Tom, you get the first pick for the NXT title match. Braun Breaker defends against Carmelo Hayes. Yeah,
it's Carmelo Hayes. He unseats Braun Breaker to become NXT champion. It's the logical next progression in the Carmelo Hayes NXT story. I really like how this is coming together. I think this is going to be a really, really great match. I think it's probably going to be Braun Breaker's best match in NXT. Hard to be surprised about that with Carmelo Hayes on the other side of the ring against him. Carmelo wins. I think then Carmelo has the opportunity to have feuds with Grayson Waller, who, even though he loses, still has a leg in the game. I also think Wes Lee, depending if Carmelo comes out of this as full babyface, he's kind of been like walking in the line. I think he hasn't been a full heel by any means, but he could go back full heel, and if that's the case, Wes Lee could be a great challenger for him after losing the North American title. So I'm giving you all of that because of things I said earlier that I wanted to paint the full picture. Carmelo Hayes wins the title here, new chapter in NXT, and we'll see Braun Breaker on Monday night most likely.
Yeah. I feel like whoever loses this match probably goes to the main roster. I feel like both of them could go to the main roster, but unless you're going to do something weird and add a third person or something like that, then that doesn't really work. So, yeah, I'm with you. Carmelo Hayes, I think it's been Hayes' time for a little while. They've clearly taken a look at him on the main roster, and they've even taken a look at Trick Williams, who frankly has gotten a lot better in the ring. Trick Williams is not going to be confused with Carmelo Hayes anytime soon in the ring. But compared to where Trick was when he first debuted with Carmelo Hayes, and you and I on this show were both like, that dude is not ready for prime time. He's clearly worked really hard. So I got to give Trick Williams some credit on that and say, there's a guy who's been working and he's trying, and that's what NXT should be. It is the developmental brand. So kudos to Trick, but Carmelo Hayes, it's his time. It's his time to shine. It's his time. He can kind of play that tweener, that babyface and heel, depending on who he's going against. Because it's almost not that he's a heel because he's a jerk. It's just because he's, that damn good kind of thing. So I've been a big fan of Hayes for a while. And I think it's his time. And I think, the matches that Hayes can have with some of those top, guys on NXT, frankly, are going to be better than Braun. Braun is a good character, and Braun's not bad in the ring. He's for as young as he is and as inexperienced he really is overall. He's not there compared to Carmelo Hayes. I think this is going to be really good though. So I think Carmelo Hayes wins. So amazingly, 14 matches. Yep, 14 matches on this show between Ring of Honor and NXT, and we have one difference. One difference. Wow. And we have 13 or 14 to pick at WrestleMania. I think 14, maybe. Nope, 13 would make that math work, right? 13 matches to pick at WrestleMania. So are you surprised after 14 matches we only have one difference, Tom?
A little bit. But the way we've laid this out and the logic I think that we both have brought to the conversation does make a lot of sense to me. So it's hard to argue against, any of our picks.
Everybody write that down. We are logical at Two Spot Monkeys. So here's, if you're listening on the podcast version, stay tuned. Tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Thursday when it debuts, there will be another episode with our WrestleMania picks on Two Spot Monkeys, episode 109. If you happen to be watching on Monday night live on our YouTube feed, we are going to sign off from this one, and then I need to recreate a new episode through the program that we use, and we will be back on our channel here in just moments, really, just a minute or three, and we'll be making our WrestleMania picks. So if you're watching on YouTube, just keep kind of refreshing or watching our Two Spot Monkeys page, and you'll get that, unless you've already subscribed and clicked that little bell to get the notifications, which you all should do, by the way. That'll tell you when we go live here again in just a couple minutes. But for now, if you are listening to this before Ring of Honor and before Stand and Deliver, enjoy the beginning of WrestleMania weekend. And join us on episode 109, where we talk about the big daddy of them all, the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania.
Goes Hollywood.
Goes Hollywood. That's right. We'll talk to you in just another episode.